Hey there, wine lovers. Today, we're diving into something that could change the way we think about our favorite beverage.
Oh,
Imagine a world where satellites and AI are helping to ensure your glass is always full of delicious wine.
really?
Well, that future might be closer than you think, thanks to a company called Pharmanaut.
Okay.
They're using cutting-edge technology to monitor vineyards from space, kind of like a health tracker, but for grapevines.
Uh,
And that brings us to today's topic, Grapevine Leaf Disease, or GLD for short.
GLD is a serious threat to wine production that most people haven't even heard of. It's a group of viruses, not just one, that can wreak havoc on vineyards.
Okay, so not a friendly bunch, these viruses.
Right.
But what does this mean for the grapes and ultimately the wine?
Well, GLD impacts both the quantity and quality of the grapes.
Hmm,
Infected vines produce fewer grapes, and the grapes themselves are smaller, have less sugar, and can even develop off flavor, so less wine, and potentially less delicious wine.
that's bad news for anyone who enjoys a glass of vino. The research mentions some of the symptoms are pretty subtle, like leaves rolling downward and changing color. But here's the catch. These signs often appear late in the growing season, right?
Exactly.
Ah,
And that's what makes GLD so tricky to manage. By the time you see the obvious symptoms, the virus has already spread and the damage is done. It's like catching a human disease in its late stages, much harder to treat effectively.
so early detection is key. Speaking of spreading, the research mentions something about tiny insects called mealybugs. I know those can be a pain for houseplants, but are they really a threat to entire vineyards?
They are indeed.
Oh,
Mealybugs are one of the main culprits in spreading GLD. They feed on the sap of infected vines, pick up the virus, and then move on to healthy vines, spreading the infection as they go. It's amazing how such tiny creatures can have such a big impact.
talk about a surprising villain. It's like a microscopic invasion threatening our wine supply. So how do these viruses actually spread? Is it just the mealybugs or are there other ways?
Mealybugs are definitely a major factor, but GLD can also spread through infected plant material, like cuttings or rootstock used for new vines. And while less common, contaminated tools can also transmit the virus.
Wow, so it's like a multi-pronged attack on the vineyards?
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. We know what causes GLD and how it spreads, but what can be done about it? What are winemakers doing to fight back?
Well, there are traditional methods like visual inspections and lab tests to identify infected vines.
Huh.
But as we discussed, those methods often come with a delay, only catching the disease when it's already advanced.
So not exactly ideal, especially when early detection is so important. Is that where Pharmanaut comes in with their high-tech approach?
Precisely. Pharmanaut's system utilizes satellites to monitor vineyards from space, capturing high-resolution images that can detect subtle changes in the vines that signal potential infection, even before any visible symptoms appear.
So it's like having a superpowered eye in the sky, constantly scanning for any sign of trouble. What kind of changes are we talking about? Things that the human eye would miss.
Exactly.
Finally.
Think slight variations in color or leaf shape, things that might indicate stress caused by the virus, but wouldn't be noticeable to someone walking through the vineyard.
That's incredible. It's like they're seeing the vineyard in a whole new light, literally. But how does this satellite data translate into action on the ground? What can winemakers actually do with this information?
That's where the power of AI comes in. Pharmanaut's system analyzes the satellite images using algorithms that can pinpoint areas of concern, allowing winemakers to target their efforts and address potential problems before they escalate.
So it's not just about detection, it's about providing actionable insights that help winemakers make informed decisions.
Precisely. It's about early intervention, targeted treatments, and ultimately minimizing the impact of GLD on the vineyard.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got the traditional methods of inspection and lab tests, and now this incredible satellite technology from Pharmanaut. But what about the treatments themselves? What options are available to winemakers once GLD has been detected?
Well, the approach to treatment often depends on whether the vineyard is managed organically or conventionally.
Okay, so two different philosophies, each with its own set of tools.
Right.
Let's start with organic. What are some of the methods used to combat GLD in organic vineyards?
Organic methods typically focus on bolstering the overall health of the vine to make it more resistant to disease. This might involve introducing beneficial insects that prey on mealybugs, using organic pesticides, or carefully removing infected parts of the vine to prevent further spread.
So it's about working with nature to create a more balanced ecosystem in the vineyard. What about the conventional approach?
Conventional methods often rely on chemical insecticides to control the mealybug population, or in severe cases, removing and destroying entire infected vines to prevent further spread.
I see. So a more aggressive approach, but potentially with its own set of drawbacks. What are the pros and cons of each method?
Well, organic methods are generally seen as more environmentally friendly, but they can be more labor intensive and may not always be as effective in controlling the spread of the disease.
Right, so a trade-off between environmental impact and effectiveness. What about conventional methods?
Conventional methods, while often more effective in the short term, can have negative impacts on the environment and may contribute to pesticide resistance in mealybug populations.
So it's a complex decision for winemakers, weighing the pros and cons of each approach. But it sounds like there's no easy answer, no one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. The best approach depends on a variety of factors, including the severity of the infection, the specific grape variety, and the overall vineyard management philosophy.
So it's about choosing the right tool for the job, considering all these factors. But what about the future? Is there hope for a world without GLD? What are some of the more cutting-edge solutions being explored to combat this disease?
There's definitely hope, and the future of GLD management is looking quite exciting. Some of the research happening right now sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more. What kind of futuristic solutions are we talking about?
One promising area is RNA interference, or RNAi, which basically disrupts the virus's ability to replicate within the plant. Think of it like scrambling the virus's genetic code so it can't function properly.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like hacking the virus from the inside out.
Yeah.
What else is on the horizon?
Another exciting avenue is CRISPR gene editing. Scientists are working on using CRISPR to actually edit the genes of grapevines to make them resistant to the virus entirely.
So instead of fighting the virus directly, you're giving the plant its own built-in defense system. That's incredible. Are there any other game changers in the works?
There is one more. Nanotechnology is being explored as a way to deliver targeted treatments to infected vines. Imagine tiny particles carrying medicine directly to the site of infection, minimizing collateral damage and maximizing effectiveness.
It's like a microscopic task force going in to neutralize the threat.
Yeah.
This is all so fascinating. So we've got these incredible future solutions on the horizon, but how does all of this tie into what Pharmanon is doing with their satellite technology?
That's a great question, and it brings us to the concept of smart vineyard design.
Okay.
By combining their satellite data with other information like soil composition, topography, and climate patterns, Pharmanaut can help optimize the layout of the vineyard to minimize disease risk in the first place.
So it's not just about detecting the disease, it's about using that information to make smarter decisions about how to plant and manage the vineyard in the first place.
Exactly. They can advise on things like row orientation to improve air circulation and reduce humidity, vine spacing to optimize sunlight penetration, and even the types of cover crops to plant between rows to attract beneficial insects.
So it's like they're helping to create a blueprint for a healthier, more resilient vineyard right from the start.
Precisely. And this is where the true potential of Pharmanaut's technology lies. Not just in detecting GLD, but in helping to create vineyards that are better equipped to withstand the challenges of disease and climate change.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The causes of GLD, how it spreads, the different approaches to treatment, both traditional and futuristic, and how Pharmanon satellite technology is changing the game.
Right.
But why should all this matter to the average wine lover? What's the real-world impact of GLD on our glasses of wine?
That's a great question, and one we'll delve into more deeply in the next part of our deep dive.
Yep.
But for now, I'll leave you with this thought. GLD has the potential to impact not just the availability of your favorite wines, but also their price and quality.
Ooh, now that's something to ponder. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll uncork the economic impact of GLD and explore how it could shape the future of wine as we know it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Grapevine Leaf Disease.
We've already uncovered the sneaky ways GLD impacts vineyards and learned about the high-tech battle being waged against it.
Now let's shift our focus to something that hits close to home for all of us wine enthusiasts: the economic consequences of GLD.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about protecting grapes, it's about protecting our access to delicious and affordable wine.
Exactly. GLD can have a ripple effect throughout the entire wine industry, ultimately impacting what ends up in your glass and how much you pay for it.
So let's break it down. What are the real costs associated with GLD for winemakers?
As we've discussed, GLD can significantly reduce grape yield. In severe cases, vineyards can lose up to 40% of their crop.
Fewer grapes mean less wine to sell, which obviously hurts a winery's profit.
Precisely, and it's not just about quantity. The quality of the grapes also suffers.
We talked about how GLD can lead to smaller berries with less sugar and even unpleasant flavors. That can't be good for making quality wine.
You're absolutely right. Lower quality grapes translate to lower quality wine, which can damage a winery's reputation and make it harder to compete in the market.
It's a double whammy. Less wine to sell, and the wine they do sell may not be as good. What does this mean for consumers?
Well, it can lead to higher prices. When wineries face lower yields and higher production costs due to GLD, those costs are often passed on to the consumer.
So that delicious bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon we love could become a lot more expensive. Ouch.
That's a real possibility. In some cases, certain wines might even become harder to find if GLD severely impacts production in specific regions.
That would be a tragedy for our taste buds. So it's not just the winemakers who feel the economic pinch, it's all of us wine lovers.
Exactly. GLD has the potential to impact the entire wine ecosystem, from the vineyard to our tables.
This all sounds pretty doom and gloom, but is there a silver lining? Are there ways to mitigate these economic impacts?
There is hope. Early detection and proactive management are crucial. The sooner you identify and address the problem, the lower the costs will be in the long run.
Makes sense. It's like catching a leak in your roof early on. Fix it quickly, and you save yourself a lot of damage and expense down the road.
That's a great analogy. And this is where technology like Pharmanaut's satellite monitoring system can be a game changer.
By detecting potential infections before they're even visible, winemakers can take early action and potentially avoid much of the economic fallout from GLD.
Precisely. Early intervention allows for targeted treatments which can be more effective and less costly than trying to manage a widespread infection.
So it's not just about protecting the grapes. It's about protecting the livelihoods of the people who grow them and the enjoyment of those who drink the wine.
That's a great point. And remember, GLD can also reduce the lifespan of a vine, making it more susceptible to other pests and diseases. So early detection and proactive management are also about protecting the long-term health and productivity of the vineyard.
It's like investing in the future of your vineyard and the future of the wines it produces.
Exactly. A healthy vineyard is a more productive vineyard, which ultimately benefits everyone involved in the wine industry.
Speaking of the future, we touched on some pretty mind-blowing solutions being developed to combat GLD. Things like RNA interference, CRISPR gene editing, and nanotechnology.
Those technologies hold immense potential to revolutionize how we manage GLD and other vineyard diseases.
RNA interference basically stops the virus from replicating. It's like shutting down its ability to spread.
Exactly. And CRISPR gene editing could allow us to create grapevines that are resistant to GLD from the get-go.
Imagine a world where vineyards are immune to this devastating disease. That would be incredible.
It would certainly be a game changer for the wine industry. And nanotechnology could enable us to deliver targeted treatments with pinpoint accuracy, minimizing any negative impacts on the environment.
So these technologies could offer a triple threat against GLD, potentially changing the future of winemaking as we know it.
They very well could. It's an exciting time to be following these advancements and to imagine the possibilities they hold for creating a more sustainable and resilient wine industry.
It's fascinating to think about how technology is reshaping the way we approach everything from growing grapes to sipping wine. But technology alone can't solve every problem, can it?
You're right. It's about finding the right balance between technology and traditional practices, using innovation to enhance, not replace, the time-honored art of winemaking.
So what are some of the traditional, non-technological approaches that can help mitigate the economic impacts of GLD?
Choosing the right grape varieties for your climate and soil is key. Some varieties are naturally more resistant to GLD, which can reduce the need for costly treatments.
So it's about working with nature, choosing grapes that are well suited to their environment.
Exactly. Promoting biodiversity in the vineyard is another important strategy. A diverse ecosystem is a healthier ecosystem, better able to resist pests and diseases.
Like having a backup plan, a natural defense system against GLD and other threats.
Precisely. And minimizing the use of harmful chemicals, even in conventional vineyards, can help protect the long-term health and productivity of the soil and the vines.
It's about finding a sustainable balance, respecting the delicate ecosystem of the vineyard.
And ultimately, that's what will ensure the long-term viability of the wine industry. We need healthy vineyards to produce the delicious wines we all enjoy.
So it's a combination of factors. Smart vineyard design, responsible farming practices, and cutting-edge technology, all working together to create a more resilient and sustainable future for wine.
Exactly. And it's a future that benefits everyone from the winemaker to the consumer.
Speaking of the bigger picture, we haven't really talked about the global implications of GLD. It's not just affecting a few vineyards here and there, is it?
Not at all. GLD is a global problem impacting vineyards in every major wine-producing region around the world.
And with climate change adding another layer of complexity, things could get even trickier for vineyards, couldn't they?
That's right. Climate change is already causing shifts in weather patterns, increasing the frequency of extreme events like droughts and heat waves, which can stress vines and make them more vulnerable to diseases like GLD.
So it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
A warming planet weakens the vines, making them more vulnerable, and then GLD comes along and takes advantage of that vulnerability.
That's a good way to put it. But it's not just about reacting to these challenges, it's also about proactively adapting and developing more resilient practices.
You mean adapting to a changing climate, developing more resilient grape varieties, and implementing more sustainable farming practices?
Exactly. We need to think long-term and find ways to create vineyards that can thrive in the face of these evolving conditions. And technology has a key role to play in this adaptation.
It seems like technology is the bridge between tradition and innovation in the wine world, helping preserve the heritage of winemaking while embracing the future.
You're right. Technology allows us to gather data, analyze trends, and develop solutions in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago.
We've talked about Farminaut satellite monitoring, but what other technologies are being utilized to address the challenges of GLD and climate change?
Precision viticulture is becoming increasingly important. It involves using sensors and data analysis to fine-tune vineyard management, optimizing irrigation, predicting disease outbreaks, and tailoring grape varieties to specific microclimates.
It's like giving winemakers a superpower, allowing them to see their vineyards in a whole new light and make data-driven decisions.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And gene editing technologies like CRISPR hold the potential to develop grape varieties that are resistant to GLD and better adapted to changing climate conditions.
That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie,
Huh.
but it's happening right now. It's incredible to think about the possibilities.
It is. And then there's blockchain technology, which can revolutionize the way we track and verify the origin and authenticity of wine.
Imagine being able to scan a bottle with your phone and see the entire journey of those grapes from the vineyard where they were grown to the winery where they were bottled.
Exactly. That level of transparency could help combat fraud and counterfeiting and also give consumers more confidence in the wines they're purchasing.
It's fascinating to think about how these technologies are converging to shape the future of wine. It's like a whole new era of winemaking is unfolding before our eyes.
It is. And despite the challenges of GLD and climate change, I'm optimistic about the future of wine. We have the knowledge, the technology, and the passion to create a more sustainable and resilient industry.
I share your optimism. It's inspiring to see how the wine world is embracing innovation and collaboration to overcome these challenges.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the enduring appeal of wine and the dedication of the people who make it.
Well said. It seems like GLD, while a formidable foe, has also served as a catalyst for positive change in the wine world.
I agree. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there's always room for growth, innovation, and collaboration.
And for all of us wine lovers out there, that's something worth raising a glass to.
Cheers to that.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of GLD and its impact on the wines we enjoy. We hope you've learned something new and gained a deeper appreciation for the complex journey from grape to glass.
It's been a pleasure sharing our insights with you.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep savoring those delicious wines. This is The Deep Dive signing off. Welcome back, wine enthusiasts. We've explored the science behind GLD, the challenges it poses for winemakers, and the economic ripple effects that could reach all the way to our wine glasses.
Now, in this final part of our deep dive, let's broaden our perspective and consider how GLD is shaping the global wine landscape.
It's not just a localized issue, is it? This sneaky virus is impacting vineyards around the world.
That's right. GLD is a global concern affecting every major wine-producing region. And it's not just about the direct impact on vineyards. GLD is also a catalyst for innovation.
So in a way, this troublesome virus is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in viticulture and winemaking.
Exactly. Winemakers and scientists are constantly searching for new ways to prevent, detect, and treat GLD, leading to advancements in areas like precision viticulture and plant science.
So it's like a challenge that's forcing the industry to evolve and adapt.
Precisely. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. But while GLD is driving innovation, it's also creating challenges, especially for smaller wineries and those in regions with limited resources.
We talked about the economic burden of GLD, the reduced yields, the lower quality grapes, the cost of treatment. Those challenges are likely amplified for wineries that don't have the same access to technology or financial resources.
Absolutely. That's why collaboration and knowledge sharing becomes so crucial. Larger wineries, research institutions, and organizations like Pharmanaut can play a key role in supporting smaller wineries and helping them adopt best practices.
It's like a collective effort to raise the bar for the entire industry, ensuring everyone has the tools to face the challenges of GLD.
Exactly. And this collaborative spirit becomes even more critical as we consider the impact of climate change.
Right, we touched on this earlier. Climate change is already altering weather patterns, leading to more extreme events like droughts and heat waves, all of which can stress grapevines and make them more susceptible to diseases like GLD.
It's a complex interplay of factors with climate change, adding another layer of difficulty to an already challenging situation.
So it's like a double whammy. A warming planet weakens the vines, making them more vulnerable, and then GLD comes along and takes advantage of that vulnerability.
That's a good way to put it. But it's not just about reacting to these challenges, it's also about proactively adapting and developing more resilient practices.
You mean adapting to a changing climate, developing more resilient grape varieties, and implementing more sustainable farming practices.
Exactly. We need to think long term and find ways to create vineyards that can thrive in the face of these evolving conditions. And technology has a key role to play in this adaptation.
It seems like technology is the bridge between tradition and innovation in the wine world, helping preserve the heritage of winemaking while embracing the future.
You're right. Technology allows us to gather data, analyze trends, and develop solutions in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago.
We've talked about Pharmanaut's satellite monitoring, but what other technologies are being utilized to address the challenges of GLD and climate change?
Precision viticulture is becoming increasingly important. It involves using sensors and data analysis to fine-tune vineyard management, optimizing irrigation, predicting disease outbreaks, and tailoring grape varieties to specific microclimates.
It's like giving winemakers a superpower, allowing them to see their vineyards in a whole new light and make data-driven decisions.
Exactly. And gene editing technologies like CRISPR hold the potential to develop grape varieties that are resistant to GLD and better adapted to changing climate conditions.
That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie, but it's happening right now. It's incredible to think about the possibilities.
It is. And then there's blockchain technology, which can revolutionize the way we track and verify the origin and authenticity of wine.
Imagine being able to scan a bottle with your phone and see the entire journey of those grapes, from the vineyard where they were grown to the winery where they were bottled.
Exactly. That level of transparency could help combat fraud and counterfeiting and also give consumers more confidence in the wines they're purchasing.
It's fascinating to think about how these technologies are converging to shape the future of wine. It's like a whole new era of winemaking is unfolding before our eyes.
It is. And despite the challenges of GLD and climate change, I'm optimistic about the future of wine. We have the knowledge, the technology, and the passion to create a more sustainable and resilient industry.
I share your optimism. It's inspiring to see how the wine world is embracing innovation and collaboration to overcome these challenges.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the enduring appeal of wine and the dedication of the people who make it.
Well said. It seems like GLD, while a formidable foe, has also served as a catalyst for positive change in the wine world.
I agree. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there's always room for growth, innovation, and collaboration.
And for all of us wine lovers out there, that's something worth raising a glass to. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of GLD and its impact on the wines we enjoy. We hope you've learned something new and gained a deeper appreciation for the complex journey from grape to glass.
Cheers to that. It's been a pleasure sharing our insights with you.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep savoring those delicious wines. This is The Deep Dive signing off.